This is where things get really interesting with the Lakers, guys. On today's Sports Center segment, we dove deep into a story that I think a lot of Lakers fans are going to find fascinating. There's a sense of what could have been, because it turns out the Lakers were heavily linked to an up-and-coming two-way guard in the NBA draft a few years back, someone who might still be a possibility to bring to Los Angeles. And if you're wondering how that could work, that's exactly what we unpacked on the program today. Now, I know it's the off-season, football's in full swing, and the NBA is just warming up for training camps, but trust me, Lakers fans, you're going to want to pay attention to this. September 29th is just around the corner, and that's when the Lakers officially kick off training camp. So any moves that might be brewing now are critical, because the front office is already thinking strategically about roster construction. And on today's show, we made it clear, if you're not thinking about how the Lakers could maximize their current cap space and future opportunities, you're already behind. So here's the setup. Yoan Buha, formerly of The Athletic, and now running his own podcast covering the Lakers and the broader league, dropped some knowledge that really caught our eye. He talked about a player who, in an alternate reality, could have been a Laker. He explained that when the Lakers had the 31st overall pick a couple of drafts ago, they were really hoping Andrew Nembhard would slip through to them. Unfortunately for LA, he went 31st to the Indiana Pacers. And on the show, we talked through what that meant for the Lakers in real time, like we were just sitting around talking hoops with friends. The discussion really highlighted how the Lakers' front office, led by Rob Pelinka, has historically been aggressive with draft strategy. Buha pointed out that Pelinka almost always tries to ensure the team has at least one pick in every draft. We've seen it firsthand this year as the Lakers maneuvered multiple times to acquire specific targets. And Nembhard, coming out of Gonzaga, he had already shown he was a winner, a player who could make an immediate impact in the NBA. What really brought the story home on SportsCenter was revisiting a memorable moment. Nembhard, in his rookie season, hit a game-winning three-pointer against the Lakers in Los Angeles. That shot, although he wasn't fully developed yet, gave the Lakers a taste of what they missed out on. Meanwhile, Max Christie, the player LA selected with their pick, also had his moment and has developed nicely. But the segment made it clear. We all know the feeling of the one that got away. And Nembhard represents exactly that for the Lakers. Someone who could have contributed earlier and perhaps changed some of the calculations around roster depth. Now, here's the kicker that made our discussion so lively. Could the stars align and give the Lakers another shot at Nembhard? On the program, we didn't make any bold predictions, but we explored the possibility. I laid out for viewers how, hypothetically, with the right moves and cap flexibility, LA could still bring him in, complementing LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and the rest of the roster. And of course, we had some fun imagining what that alternate universe might look like. Lakers fans dreaming about a backcourt featuring Nembhard alongside current stars, a lineup that would be almost unstoppable. So, while Nembhard isn't officially a Laker, and Max Christie has moved on, today's SportsCenter discussion really drilled into the idea that opportunities still exist. We talked about strategy, timing, and how the Lakers' front office could leverage future trades or cap space to potentially make this happen. It was exactly the type of in-depth, behind-the-scenes conversation that gives fans a sense of how these decisions are made, what could have been, and what still might be possible. All right, so now we're getting into the real meat of this Lakers story on today's SportsCenter segment. We talked in depth about Andrew Nembhard and whether there's any realistic path for him to actually join the Lakers. And let me tell you, this is where the conversation gets really intriguing. Looking at Nembhard's season with the Pacers, yeah, the counting stats aren't exactly eye-popping. He averaged around 10 points per game, a couple of turnovers, and overall the numbers don't immediately jump off the page. He's not a flashy athlete, he's not huge in size, and he's only 25 years old. So, by NBA standards, he's still young, still developing, still got room to grow. But here's where the Lakers angle comes in. Nembhard fits this roster like a glove because of what he brings defensively. On the show, we really emphasize this point. He's an excellent on-ball defender. He might not be the tallest guard on the court, but he's strong, he's smart, and he has that rare ability to stay in front of his man without giving up easy driving lanes. That kind of defensive presence is exactly what the Lakers need, especially in the backcourt. And if you think about it, he'd pair perfectly with someone like Luka Doncic, who, let's be honest, is clearly the better player than most combo guards out there, including Tyrese Haliburton and Austin Reeves, who has shown he can score but isn't exactly a lockdown defender. Nembhard would immediately become the best on-ball guard defender on this roster, a role the Lakers have really been missing for a while. Now, we also discussed on the program how having multiple guards who can defend at a high level is never a bad problem to have, especially when you consider the injury history of someone like Marcus Smart, who doesn't have a long-term contract with the team. Adding Nembhard could provide security, depth, and elite perimeter defense. And as we broke it down on air, even though Nembhard isn't a perfect offensive fit, he's streaky from three, his shooting percentages aren't elite, and he's used to handling the ball a lot. He's also effective without the ball, which is crucial when you've got Luka, LeBron, and Reeves orchestrating the offense. He's proven he can dish 5 assists per game, which is solid for someone whose role isn't primarily playmaking on a high-powered offense. Of course, we didn't shy away from the reality check. The Pacers clearly value Nembhard. They gave him a 3-year, $59 million extension, and they're banking on him developing further as he enters what should be his prime around 2028. So, on paper, it's not going to be easy to pry him away from Indiana. But here's what made our Sports Center discussion really interesting. The Lakers could theoretically make it happen if the Pacers were looking to move some pieces. With Tyrese Haliburton out for the season due to his Achilles injury, and the Pacers letting Miles Turner walk to the Bucks, there's a possibility, a what-if scenario, where LA could offer the right combination of expiring contracts or picks to make this work. And that's exactly the kind of analysis we dug into on the program. We laid out the potential fits, the pros and cons, the defensive upgrades, the offensive challenges, and even the timing of contracts. We weren't saying it's guaranteed, but we explored the landscape in a way that gives Lakers fans hope. This is the kind of if everything aligns situation where Andrew Nembhard could realistically land in Los Angeles. After all, the reports go back to 2022. The Lakers have liked him for a while, and it's not hard to see why. He's developed into a quality NBA player, and the Lakers, with their eyes on contending, could find a path to bring him in. Now, here's the big takeaway we wrapped up on SportsCenter today. If Andrew Nembhard does somehow become available, this could be the exact moment for the Lakers to make their move. We really stressed this point during the program. Timing is everything. If the stars align just right, Los Angeles could swoop in and finally land a player who not only fills a defensive need, but also adds depth and versatility to this roster. It's the kind of strategic move that could make the Lakers truly unstoppable heading into the season. And, of course, I made sure to remind our viewers, especially those of you who've been following every report and update, that now is the time to be locked in with Lakers Digest. Seriously, 62% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. You've watched the video all the way through. You've stayed with me through the breakdown, and you haven't hit that subscribe button. Come on, man. This is Lakers season. It's almost here. The tip-off is creeping closer, and we're talking October 21st, opening night, against none other than the Golden State Warriors. That's right, the defending contenders, the high-powered team that's going to test LA from the jump. You don't want to miss a single update, a single trade rumor, or any news about potential moves like Andrew Nembhard joining the squad. On air, we really painted the picture. This isn't just another off-season chatter piece. This is the Lakers strategically positioning themselves to be a force in the Western Conference. Every pick, every trade possibility, every free agent evaluation matters. And if you want to stay on top of it all, to know what moves are actually likely versus just the what-ifs, you need to subscribe to Lakers Digest. That way, you're in the loop as the Lakers approach training camp, as LeBron, Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic start gearing up with the new addition, and as the front office works behind the scenes to assemble a team capable of contending immediately. So, if you're a Lakers fan, or just a basketball fan who loves following the drama, the trades, and the big-picture strategy, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're here to cover it all, and trust me, you do not want to be the one hearing about Andrew Nembhard landing in LA after the fact, wishing you had been tuned in. Stay with us, because Lakers Digest is bringing you every update, every rumor, and every move straight from the front lines of the NBA. Let's get ready, because this season promises to be one of the most exciting in years, and the Lakers could very well be unstoppable. Something strange is definitely happening right now around the Los Angeles Lakers, and you could feel it on SportsCenter earlier today. The conversation shifted quickly from the usual preseason optimism to some pretty surprising updates that might change how the Lakers approach building this roster moving forward. And let me tell you, when this came up on the show, it caught everybody's attention, because it's not just about a name being mentioned, it's about how it impacts the Lakers' entire strategy heading into the season. So here's what went down. The discussion turned to Andrew Wiggins, a player the Lakers have been linked to for months now. If you remember, reports had been swirling since July that Los Angeles was seriously monitoring him as that coveted 3-and-D wing who could slot perfectly alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the kind of player who takes on the toughest defensive assignments while still being able to hit shots and open up the offense. That's exactly the mold the Lakers have been searching for, and many fans thought Wiggins was the missing puzzle piece. But on SportsCenter, the tone was different. Brett Siegel's latest reporting was brought up, and it directly contradicted what had been said earlier this summer by insiders like Mark Stein and Dan Woik. Siegel's report claimed Miami isn't actively shopping Wiggins at all right now, and the Heat are not engaged in trade discussions with the Lakers. That hit the panel like a curveball, because we've been hearing non-stop chatter about the Lakers and Heat circling around Wiggins. Now, Miami's stance is basically, we're holding on to him, at least for the time being, and when you think about it, that makes sense for Miami. On the show, they broke it down clearly. The Eastern Conference is wide open. The Heat don't want to tank, they don't want to just float around the lottery. That organization has always been built on competing, pushing into the playoffs, making runs regardless of where they're seeded. So keeping a versatile wing like Wiggins, at least until they see how the season unfolds, aligns with who they are as a franchise. One analyst even said that Miami's mindset right now is, let's wait and see what the first couple of months look like before we make any drastic decisions. But the real tension in the conversation came when they shifted back to the Lakers. Because, let's be honest, for a lot of Lakers fans, Wiggins felt like the solution. He's not a superstar, but he's that perfect complementary piece. Someone who can defend the best player on the other side, knock down shots, and free up LeBron and AD from having to do all the heavy lifting on defense. And yet, the Heat reportedly have a very high asking price. One that Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office have not been willing to meet. Now, here's where it got interesting. On the show, they reminded everyone that the Lakers actually hold a lot of leverage because of the contracts on their books. We're talking about over $100 million in expiring deals. That is a massive chip to play with before the trade deadline in February. The panel emphasized that this flexibility gives Los Angeles a chance to chase multiple targets, not just Wiggins. Rob Pelinka has shown he's not afraid to roll the dice. Look at last season, when the Lakers swung mid-season moves that transformed the team's outlook. So even if Miami is standing firm right now, there's a belief that the Lakers are going to remain aggressive, looking for ways to upgrade on the wing before February hits. What I took away from the SportsCenter segment is this. The Lakers know they're lacking a true perimeter stopper. Sure, they have guys who can defend, but most of them come with limitations offensively. They need that one player who can guard elite wings and still provide enough spacing on the floor to keep the offense flowing. And while Wiggins has been the name everyone fixates on, the bigger story might be that Los Angeles is keeping its options open, exploring different avenues, and making sure they don't get pressured into overpaying just because of one name. So, in short, the story coming out of SportsCenter today is that something strange is happening behind the scenes. For weeks, we've been told Wiggins is in play. Now, the Heat are pumping the brakes, the Lakers are weighing their assets, and the clock is ticking toward training camp. It leaves you wondering if this is a smokescreen, a negotiating tactic, or simply reality setting in that the Lakers might have to pivot elsewhere. When the conversation kept rolling on SportsCenter, things shifted toward the Lakers' current roster and the way they've been piecing this team together. And I'll be real with you, this was one of those moments where the panel stopped just hammering the trade for Wiggins narrative and instead said, "Hold on, let's actually look at what the Lakers already have." That's when the names Jared Vanderbilt and Marcus Smart came up. Vanderbilt has long been recognized as one of the better defenders on this team, but as was pointed out on the show, his offensive game still hasn't fully caught up. He hustles, he guards multiple positions, but when the ball swings his way on the perimeter, defenses don't exactly panic. Then, of course, there's Marcus Smart. Everyone knows him. He's one of the fiercest point-of-attack defenders in the league, the kind of guy who changes the tone of a game with his energy. But even with Smart, the offense can stall, especially in half-court sets. So the question that came up was this: if Wiggins isn't actually available, what's the Lakers' play? And that's where Rui Hachimura entered the discussion. On SportsCenter, one analyst said he's hearing chatter that Rui's name has been floated in possible trade talks. And immediately, there was a pause. Because here's the dilemma. Positionally, Andrew Wiggins makes sense. He checks the defensive box the Lakers need. But when you zoom in on Rui Hachimura's contributions, it's not that simple. The hosts went back to his numbers. Think about it. Rui averaged around 13 points and 5 rebounds per game last season, often as the third or fourth option. He wasn't the guy with the ball in his hands every possession, yet he still managed to shoot over 50% from the field, 41% from three, and an incredible 42% from the corners. That is elite efficiency, especially for a team that has struggled for years to find consistent perimeter shooting. And the crazy part is, he's doing this while still being able to bully mismatches down low. Too strong for smaller wings, too skilled for slower bigs. One of the panelists made a great point. Since arriving in Los Angeles, Rui hasn't done anything wrong. Every coach, whether it was Darvin Ham before or now JJ Redick, asks him to fill a role, and he does it. He's been reliable, he's been available, and he's improved his defense to the point where he's at least respectable on that end. So why are people so quick to put him in trade packages? That was the exact question posed on air. And then they compared him directly with Wiggins. Yes, Andrew Wiggins is the superior defender. He averaged about 18 points and nearly 5 rebounds last season, split between Golden State and Miami. His three-point shooting hovered around 37%, and like Rui, he was strong in the corners at about 42%, so he gives you scoring and defense, no doubt. But here's the catch. The efficiency isn't as steady as Rui's. Wiggins shot around 44% overall, a noticeable dip compared to Hachimura's 50+. That's where the debate got heated. Some argued that the Lakers should absolutely roll the dice on Wiggins because of his defense and his experience in high-stakes playoff runs. Others pushed back, saying it's too soon to sacrifice someone like Rui when he's been one of the few bright spots of consistency on this roster. The words they used on SportsCenter were clear. The Lakers don't need to rush this. They don't have to make a deal right now, and honestly, I couldn't agree more. The panel even brought up the new addition, Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, guys who should give this roster a fresh dynamic heading into the early part of the season. The message was simple. Why not see what you've really got first? Give Rui, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, and the rest of the rotation a real chance in October and November. Then, if the flaws show up again, if the shooting vanishes, or the defense can't keep up, that's when you re-engage on someone like Wiggins. The bottom line from the program was this: Andrew Wiggins may look like the shinier name, the bigger defensive fit, But Rui Hachimura has quietly become a foundational piece since joining the Lakers. He's not just a throw-in for a deal, and treating him like one might actually set this team back more than it helped. And right now, with training camp just weeks away, the Lakers can afford patience. They don't need to force a move yet. Andrew Wiggins' situation brings additional layers of consideration. At his age, questions naturally arise about how much of his athleticism will remain at peak level over the next few years. Any team trading for him wouldn't just be acquiring Wiggins for the current season, but committing to him for multiple seasons ahead. That raises the stakes in evaluating what version of Wiggins a franchise would be getting, and whether he would be fully invested in his new team. In contrast, Rui Hachimura has consistently shown reliability for the Lakers. Aside from some minor setbacks, including a facial injury and occasional leg issues, Hachimura has generally stayed available and productive. His track record includes being a strong performer in the postseason, with the exception of the Denver series a couple of years back. For the most part, he's delivered as a steady presence and even elevated his play when the games mattered most. Given that, the Lakers may be best served taking a wait-and-see approach for now. Monitoring how Hachimura integrates within the evolving lineup could provide clarity. There's even a possibility of experimenting with his role, potentially shifting him to the bench to allow Marcus Smart into the starting five. Still, the expectation remains that Hachimura will retain his spot alongside Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and DeAndre Ayton in the projected starting lineup. With that in mind, the trade speculation surrounding Wiggins might ultimately lead nowhere, at least in the short term. Much will depend on whether the Lakers remain aggressive in pursuing upgrades or if the Miami Heat re-engage and open the door to discussion. For now, the Heat can afford patience. Wiggins is under contract for multiple years, meaning they have no obligation to move him this season and could leverage that security to demand significant value in return. The key question remains: will Wiggins eventually be dealt, or will Miami hold firm on its asking price, waiting for the right offer while keeping him in their plan? The situation is fluid, and the coming months will reveal whether these talks are just noise or the beginning of a serious shift in the trade market.